Sleepless, Chapter 8, 7 days remaining. May 15th, 12:15 a.m. Lita sits in the hospital. The door to her room is barred shut. In the last 2 nights, the maintenance staff has transformed the psychiatric ward of the hospital into a high-security prison. Like so many others, Lita has found that it's challenging to keep her clothes on. She has now been through 2 rounds of radiation treatment. She is sick, and she is sleepy all the time. After her first treatment, she was having trouble keeping food down. Still, one of the nurses recommended an experimental treatment that seems to be counteracting the worst of the adverse effects of radiation. A nebulizer of cannabis oil and a handful of other medications seem to be helping. The treatment is considered untraditional, but given the severity of things, as they are, much of the hospital staff seem okay with using whatever tools are available to them to keep people happy and healthy. The night is not quiet. Screams fill the air. Deafening whispers echo from all corners of the hospital. Lita looks at the door as voices call her name. She then turns to the window as the sound comes from the other side of her. Ray is floating outside her window. He smiles wide. "There you are, love. I've been looking for you all day." Lita stands up. She walks backwards, pressing her back to the door. She keeps her distance. Ray laughs. "Don't act that way with me. You're mine." He reaches a hand through the window. "Come over here." Ray waves Lita forward. Lita shakes her head. "You're not Ray. Ray is gone." Ray giggles. "I'm right here. Come on, beautiful. Give me your hand. Let's get out of here." Lita shouts, "No." The beast becomes angered. He shakes the bars of the cage as his mouth drops open, and his spearing tongue rolls out of his mouth. The effects of death start to show through. The skin stretches and fissures as his eyes cloud. "Give yourself to me. Give yourself to me before one of those others take you." Lita shouts, "No." Ray explains, "I love you. I want you. I deserve to nest with you. Not one of them." He waves his hand outwards. Lita looks about, searching the room for something to protect herself with. There is nothing in sight. A pounding strikes the door behind her. Lita shrieks. The center of the room is the only safe place. There are monsters on all sides of her, and there is nothing she can do to fight. Lita can only hide. Ray crawls up the wall. He hangs from the window above Lita and looks into the room upside down. "My mother took your mother. She is one of us now. As for Rigi, Takeshi killed him. Lita, the only safe place is with me." Lita shuts her eyes and lowers her head. She hides her head between her knees and pincers the sides of her head to drown out the noise from all around her. Rigi grunts, "Fine. I'll take you later." May 15th, 12:20 a.m. The fire alarm is triggered in the hospital. Iwata is the senior-most officer on staff. She walks down the halls of the hospital, charging as if she had a purpose. The storm shutters fall. The building is locked. The old nurse makes her way to the tripped alarm to see for herself what is going on. Arnaldo chases after her with intent to do the same. "Iwata, what's going on?" Iwata explains. "Supposedly a fire on the top floor." Iwata looks to the boy as they start to run up the steps. "Any news on your side of things?" Iwata explains. "I developed photos from Nobani. I think I know where the infection started. It was the flies. The plague of flies. They're the carriers. The heat wave woke up whatever this is and brought it into our town." Iwata nods. "We'll need to follow up on that." The two reach the top of the steps. Iwata throws open the door to the hallway vengefully. The top floor is a mess. 2 dead nurses lay in the hall. and 3 elderly patients, cut apart as if by a woodsman's axe. Honda stands at the end of the hallway, one hand on the alarm. His eyes are bulging. He is covered in blood. Takeshi shouldn't have attacked us. Things are going to get so much worse from here on out. Iwata looks to Dr. Honda. What is... Honda pulls out from behind his back the fire axe. His mouth drapes open and his tongue rolls out. It is brown and slug-like. Thorns emerge from it as his jaw drops off. Crab-like legs fester out of his chest. Iwata is stunned. The bulky man that is Honda runs at Iwata. Ronaldo pushes Iwata off to one side. Honda barrels into the young nurse, throwing him across the room with the utmost of ease. Honda explains, in payment for Takeshi's sins, we will take from him 10 times what he took from us. The voice is reverberating, echoing from all corners of the hall. It is as if it is not one beast inside of Honda, but a dozen, treating him like a puppet. Honda swings the axe at Iwata. The nurse walks backwards, staying inches out of reach. The monster grabs the axe in both hands as he teases. You could have owned this hospital. You should have. But you let Takeshi have a job. Why? Honda gurgles. Is it because of the debt that you owe to his father? Or is it because you like him? The monster swings the axe again. Iwata falls over the receptionist's desk as she tries to keep away from the beast. Honda holds the axe over her head and slams it into the table, almost breaking the table in half with its supernatural power. Ronaldo has regained his footing. He picks up a wet floor sign and runs over. He swings the sign into the back of Honda to get his attention off Iwata. The attack is meaningless. Honda looks to the small man. He reaches out to grab him with one hand and lifts him into the air. Iwata takes a bold move. This alien, whatever it is dressed in human skin. So maybe human rules are still applicable. The small woman takes a knife from a serving tray and runs around to the other side of the desk. She takes the knife and runs it across the underarm of Honda. A cut across the muscle links the shoulder to the elbow, forcing the hand to open. Arnaldo is dropped, relatively unharmed. Iwata gets backhanded for her trouble, knocking her to the ground. The sounds of sirens still calling. 3 police officers nearby come charging up the steps to investigate. The monster howls. Black tentacles erupt from the cut in its arm. It can hear men in the stairwell. It turns to flee. The police arrive only to find 5 dead and 2 injured. Quick thinking and cooperation prevented things from getting worse for a short time. But the night is young, and the troubles that the hospital will see are only going to escalate. The white-haired beast and her slaves are growing more easily agitated. It would seem they also become less concerned about being seen. May 15th, 3:33 a.m. Oso sits up in bed, his head lowered into his hands. The night can be hard on the heartbroken. His sword returns to its cradle. His kimono hangs from the wall. The lights are out. Thick shadows dance maddeningly. The sound of Rico growling in his sleep almost shakes the walls, but then all goes still. "Father!" a voice calls in from the street. Oso's eyes jump. He turns looking about. The voice of a child or sibling are voices that you never forget. A long shadow reaches around the room, almost human. Oso stands as he walks across the room, taking his sword from the wall. Oso throws open the window of his room, looking out into his backyard. Rei stands in the yard, his arms resting at his sides. He holds up a hand to wave. Oso's heart sinks. His mouth drops open. He struggles to breathe. To see the dead walk, glowing with angelic light, the fear, the pain, It is beyond words. Ray calls over, "Dad, come out here." Also keeps his eyes locked on Ray for a long few moments, trying to decide for himself what he is seeing. He wants to drop his sword and jump out the window, but something in his soul tells him to stand his ground. Ray beckons again. "Come on, hurry up." Also nods. He comes to a compromise with himself. He walks around the house and goes out the side door. He keeps his sword with him. Rico Jet sees Oso make his way for the door and shouts out to him. "What are you doing, you crazy old man?" Rico tips his head. He watches Hanzo. Something is not right about him. The look in his eyes is one of hushed depression. He is a man on the edge of losing his sanity. Depression rooted deeply. It hooks bleed out one's will to fight. Rico can feel Oso struggling to hold on. A hot wind blows as Oso walks around the back of his house. The smell of rotting meat is thick in the air. The night wind carries with it death. Ray holds out his arms, inviting Oso to come to him. Oso walks forward. He is shaking, crying silently. Oso drops his sword. He staggers, the image of Ray possessing his thoughts, forcing his action. Ray's mouth opens as Oso approaches, showing his fangs. The boy's thorned tongue rolls out as he salivates, awaiting the moment when his father embraces him and he can taste his skin. Rico grips Oso as he is about to hug Ray, and using one arm as a fulcrum, throws Oso across the field, demonstrating his valorous strength. Ray sheds his skin, transforming into the winged beast that is his natural form. The monster stoops and howls, angered by the rejection of his girlfriend and interrupted in getting the embrace of his father. Ray pounces at Rico, assuming he will be able to down the giant with one swing of his claws. But even for a sanguine, Ray is small and weak. He is young and his powers are limited. Rico is not small or weak. The blacksmith is in fact mighty. One may think him one of the great giant warriors of Scandinavia, if he were not Japanese. Rico takes the head of the monster in one hand, lifting it high into the air effortlessly, then flings it into the ground. Ray is stunned. He lays on the ground under Rico. Ray tries to crawl away from under the giant. Rico rests a foot on the beast to hold him still. One hand reaches into his belt. Rico pulls out his hammer and spins it to make sure he has his grip right. Oso gains his footing. He looks up and tries to understand what has transpired. Rico drops the hammer onto Ray, splitting him in half with the hammer as if it had been a blade. Oso shouts, "What? Why?" Rico thrusts the hammer down a few more times, reducing the corpse to little more than blue-red sludge on the ground. That wasn't Ray, Hanzo. It was a Baku, who was trying to confuse you, draw you into the shadows with it. Rico looks to the quivering swordsman. This is the third time I've stopped you from killing yourself. I think we're going to need to work out some sort of a payment plan. Oso crawls over to the remains of Ray and looks down at the slime he left behind. I don't believe it. He looks up to Rico from crouched. How can this be? Rico rubs his neck with one hand. I don't know. Rico looks out into the street. But there's no hiding from it. They are monsters after all. Oso runs over and grabs his sword. We need to do something about this. If Ray was a monster, he wasn't the only one. May 15th, 6:12 a.m. Takeshi doesn't sleep. Only the maddest of the crazed could, after what he had seen and done. Odette was on to something before she fell asleep. The entomology book he had been reading several nights ago rests under her head as she sleeps, a notebook off to one side of her, checkered with her research. Takeshi slips the book out from under Odette's arm to look over her notes. Drainfly. He reads her headline. Attracted to funguses commonly found in and around bathrooms. Less than a millimeter in length, these fur-covered bugs belong to the family of true insect. Takeshi falls back onto the couch as he watches Odette sleep, thinking about what she had found. Yeah, that would make sense. That is the root of the infection, the common link. The infection started in the septic network, then worked its way up here. Odette, you found it. You found what Tenzema was looking for. Sakura comes in from the bathroom. She has redressed and makes her way to the laundry room to grab her school clothes. They are asleep. The voices of the whatever they are have gone quiet. Takeshi turns his head. Sakura, is there any way I can convince you to come with me for some testing? Sakura stands still for a moment, thinking. She then shakes her head. Truth be told, I would rather not. Takeshi tips his head back with a strained grunt. That is understandable. May 15th, 8:20 a.m. Joe Kogatana stands in the observation room, watching an interrogation. The investigator knows well his script and reads it just as it is meant. The man being questioned has nothing to say. The female detective takes over. She is much more abrasive in her methods. She gets in close. She shouts. She threatens violence. The witness still refuses to talk. The woman shows her sword. The male detective takes over again, as the two jump back and forth in an attempt to unsettle the witness. The door to the observation room slides open. Yuseto walks in. Joe rests an arm on the wall as he leans on the glass, looking down. Do you know what is bothering me right now? No, sir, Yuseto explains. Unless this scum confesses right now to having set that fire, I have to let him walk. Yuseto changes the topic. Sir, I was just with Tomi in interrogation room number 4. He wants to see you. Joe nods. Right. Yuseto holds up a hand to stop Joe. Sir, if I may talk freely. Joe waves him on. What is it you want to say? I think it was wrong of us to go to Ichishin Megami. The monks have been... Yuseto starts to complain. Joe cuts him off. And that made them lawless and unruly. The monks are free to do as they wish, so long as the law they make for themselves does not contradict the law that we live by. Ichishin made a mistake. They assumed that they would never be held to judgment. Joe walks out of the room and down the hall to meet up with Tomi. The young monk waits in the dramatically underdecorated interrogation hall. Tomi smiles as he takes a bow. Constable? Joe stands tall. He rests one hand on the desk and looks down at the monk, demonstrating his position of power. Talk fast. Tomi explains. You bringing us here was not a good move. You have endangered yourself. You have endangered us. Joe punches the table. Make a point! You know the local myths and legends. The ghost stories that everyone in town has been repeating for the last several dozen generations. Well, there may just be a lick of truth to them. Joe cuts Tommy off. I am not interested in talking to you about folklore. Joe points across the hall. My men dug up no less than 20 burnt bodies in your backyard. I want you to tell me about them. Tommy nods. This is not going to be easy to explain. Joe shouts, I suspect it will not be. The fox demon, Tommy explains, the ghost stories. They all date back to the same thing. Every few generations, they wake up. Joe pulls back a hand threateningly. Say something that makes sense. Tomino no Miya, the fox demon. She has a lot of names, and every time she wakes up, it marks the end of an age, the death of the old guard, the burning of the village. We have been trying to keep her asleep, doing anything we can to make sure she stays underground. Tommy tries to convey. And, Joe requests, how does that explain the bodies? Tomino is awake. She has attacked us. We are trying to unearth where she is hiding. Everyone we have sent looking for her, though, has come back changed. Joe walks back and forth. He is deep in thought. Reducto ad absurdum. Let's say just for a moment that I'm willing to take you at your word. Where is Tomino? Where is she hiding? What are you doing to find her? Tommy leans on the table, his head down. My feeling is that she is somewhere off in Chico Woods, maybe near Kakari Stretch, or the Northeast Summit. But we have been seeing people all over the place that have fallen under her power. That is why we have been drawing magic seals anywhere we go. We are hoping to herd the possessed away from populated areas. Joe, we're trying to help. Joe has a heavy heart. A week ago, he would not have been willing to entertain this madness. But after seeing the things he has in the last few days, he feels inclined to accept what Tommy thinks he is telling the truth. I am going to send my people out there. Have them take a look around. See if your story holds water. That might not be wise, Tommy comments. May 15th, 9:05 a.m. Oso Hanzo and Rico Jet are in the backyard of Oso's house. Hanzo had set up a funeral pyre and burned the remains of his son early in the morning. Hanzo has gathered his training blades. He needs to work out. Jet is happy to help. The two men stand shoulder to shoulder, a blade in hand each, like the other's shadow. Hanzo sidesteps to the right, Jet to the left. Both men bring their swords overhead, then slash from shoulder to hip across the body. Jet and Hanzo box step, reversing their footing to counter slash. Then in a 3-step pivot, step past one another and their next slash. The dance is slow and deadly, a traditional exercise of professional swordsmen, dating back generations. The dancing blades is old and part of a ritual no longer in common practice. With Ray dead, Jet is the only person Hanzo will teach the blade dance to. With Jet's family also missing, Hanzo's variation on the 1.5-handed blade may well be the end of this lifetime. The past can only live so long as someone remembers it. Sakura Tomoji walks around to the backyard, hearing the sounds of the men working out. Sakura drops Riji's broken sword on the ground. "Riko!" she yells out. "Can this be fixed?" Jet picks up the broken blade from the ground. "History and mythology are littered with broken swords. This one doesn't need to stay broken. I will fix it." With that, Jet departs from the group. Oso watches him walk off. Well, there goes my workout partner. Sakura picks up a practice sword. She flips about the blade, gripping it in reversed edge stance. "I am still free," Sakura explains, "if you're in the mood to do some sparring." Oso grins happily. "I am samurai, girl." "Are you sure you want to do this?" The pair engage in a playful sparring match. Oso is taking it slow and easy at first, but Sakura demonstrates an uncanny skill with the blade. It is clear who she trained under, be it her mother or father or Officer Yuseto. But whoever it was, they must surely be a gifted swordsman in their own right. The two spar for a good part of the morning, playing point matches. Oso, in the end, comes out on top. But given a few more years of training, Sakura will no doubt be better than him. May 15th, 11:10 a.m. One by one, the senior staff of the hospital are led into the conference hall. Takeshi stands at the whiteboard, his arms folded as he watches, a level of dire concentration burning in his eyes. Dr. Iwata is the acting head of the nursing department. Jack Yu is in charge of environmental services and housekeeping. Professor Hugo Chan works in records and bookkeeping. Miss Chapanina is running the dietary and recreations department. And Officer Shinsu Sai is acting head of security. Takeshi Su runs his eyes along his staff. Most of these people are kids, only a few years out of school. But what is there that can be done? Day after day, he has people getting hurt or worse. So, a few men that may or not be field tested need to be pushed up the ranks. Takeshi takes a head count, then whispers to himself, "Why don't I see Nurse Arnoldo?" There's a moment of tension as everyone finds themselves staring at Takeshi, waiting to see what the acting director called them for. The door swings open, and Arnoldo staggers into the room, holding a large stack of slides, a folder filled with projector paper, and a Polaroid camera. Takeshi addresses the nurse. "Have you been out antiquing?" "I ran across the river, stopped by my grandmother's thrift shop. I found this." He holds up the camera overhead. "I had to share it with you guys." For a few seconds, Iwata mocks Arnoldo for his distractions, but then Takeshi intercedes on his behalf. "Hang on. I think I know what Arnoldo is getting at." Takeshi waves. "Come here, Arnoldo." Arnoldo approaches. He starts to talk in a fast, jittering voice. Takeshi needs to slow him down. After a few moments, Arnoldo starts again. Sorry. Let me try it again. "I was thinking about you and the tape from earlier. Everyone here knows that you do not know about computers or editing, but I do. So, if we started passing around cell phone photos, everyone is going to think that I doctored them somehow. But with a camera like this one, if you want to do a trick, it needs to be an in-frame trick. So, if we are going to check out our friends to see if any of them are alien life forms, I think we should use an older camera." Takeshi thinks for a moment. "You know, people have been faking UFO sightings and spirit photography since the 1800s. Takeshi slaps him playfully. "But I like the way you're thinking. Let's do this. Takeshi takes the old camera. He whispers with Iwata to make sure she understands what is going on also. Iwata stands up to prime the staff. Listen closely. What Takeshi is about to say is going to sound strange. But we are all educated people here, and we understand that extraordinary claims require evidence. So, evidence will be provided. Iwata has a hand set on her shoulder. She is sat down, and Takeshi takes over. Since the start of the month, we have been on the defensive. A pathogen of unknown origin has been plaguing our town. Mr. Arnoldo, Dr. Iwata, a handful of volunteers have been working day and night to track our nemesis. We have been losing. We have no aid coming from the outside, and we have lost Doctors Tenzema and Honda, along with others. But now, thanks in no small part to the sacrifice and courage, we are ready to strike back. Takeshi turns on the projector. Some of you have reported hearing whispers about some sort of an ALF. That is not off the table. It would seem that what we are fighting is a parasitic life form that lives outside of the spectrum of visible light as we understand it. Odette Sue and Orochi Arnoldo have been collecting photos of contaminated areas. He starts flipping through folders. This alien fungus, or whatever it ends up being called, can be perceived via video media. Why? How? We are still working on that. What I can confirm is that those that die from this infection can be manipulated by it. It is my feeling that the infection has originated in the waterways under the town, possibly being transmitted from person to person, in part by drain flies or other household. Miss Niha interrupts. Can you clarify what you mean by manipulated? Takeshi waves for Iwata. Iwata stands up. Shortly after the passing of Dr. Honda, Arnoldo and myself had encountered him. He was responsible for the riot the other night. Officer Sai will confirm this. Takeshi picks up again. I am not an expert on entomology or parasitology, but it looks as if the infection has something in common with a swarm of parasitic insects. They nest under the skin, incubate, copulate, divide, and replace. At some point, the bugs are in control of the body. They seem to have some of our memories, or at least the ability to act human enough to confuse us. They walk around like us, find a new host. Then, Takeshi drops his head. He turns off the slide projector and walks away a few steps, lost in thought. The room has fallen silent, as everyone is considering what was expressed. Niha speaks out. I was required to take a class in parasitology to get my title, and I would like to say controlling one's host is not typical behavior for a parasite. Takeshi whispers, not common, but is it possible? Niha replies, there are a handful of parasites that can do this, but not on something the size of human. Not in that way. Takeshi spins to face Niha, but why do it at all? What is the ending goal? Arnoldo comments, isn't that the point of life always the same? Proliferation. Takeshi shakes off his looming feelings of dread and suspicion as he waves to Arnoldo. Please hand me the camera. Arnoldo does. Takeshi takes a moment to look at it. He reads the camera specs off the base of it. He then turns his attention to the room again. Here is the short and skinny of what I am trying to get at. These alien life forms like to play games with people. It takes over the body. As you approach the point that you are contagious, assuming that's the right term, you start to glow purple. And if you are full-on monster, you can see that also using this. He holds up the camera. Takeshi takes a photo of himself, then sets the picture on the table for everyone to look at. Now Sai, then Iwata. He has his coworkers line up to have their photos taken. Once satisfied everyone is human, Takeshi explains, "That is why we have been burning our dead." Iwata asks, "Now, how are we going to fight this?" Takeshi explains, "That starts with sterilizing the building. Mr. Yu, would it be possible to raise the temperature in this building above 220 degrees Fahrenheit?" Yu stares, with his eyes wide as he considers it. Iwata interrupts, "That's lunacy!" Takeshi orders, "Can it be done?" Iwata slaps the table. "Do you know what happens to the human body at—" Yu cuts in. "Not all at the same time. I could do it in 2 floors at a time. If I lock off the vents at the right junctions," Iwata speaks out. "And what do we do after that?" Heal the sick. Kill the dead. May 15th, 12:10 p.m. Jin and Odette walk to the park side by side. They approach the table they have sat at just about every day for years, only to find Mosmos there, her head down, reading a book, her umbrella slid into a knot in the wood to hold it up and open, as if they were at a beach. Jin sits down. He sets his book bag on the table and starts shuffling through it. And so 6 is now 3. He pulls out a few bottles of juice and sets them out. Somehow, I suspect there are not going to be many people at our graduation party. Odette takes one of the bottles of juice. She pops the lid and drinks it fast. Let's see if anyone makes it to graduation. I don't know about you, but I'm still 3 years off in spite of honors credit. Mosmo speaks out. "Do you know what an ash borer is?" Odette nods. "Yeah, it is that little green bug we see all over the place. They attract monkeys and sparrows. They love the taste of them, it seems." Mosmo retorts the information she is reading. "Ash borer lay 70 eggs at a time, sometimes as many as 200. And it seems that once they leave their larva stage, it only takes a few days for them to reach their full size." Jin remarks, "I guess you need to grow fast when you live at the bottom of the food chain in your ecosystem." Odette squints as she thinks. "I heard my mom saying something about America having a big problem with ash borers. Apparently, there are no animals in the States that actively hunt them, so their population doubles every few years." Odette leans forward, laying on the table. "Supposedly, woodlands all along the Rocky Mountains are infested, and they're pushing other animals out." Mosmo comments, "How strange that such a small and weak animal can do so much damage." Jin pulls out his phone. He shouts, "Smile!" He photographs Mosmo. Mosmo squeals and looks away. Jin shows the picture to Odette. "It is not the same," they both comment. Mosmo's wings are visible in the pic, but unlike the other monsters they have seen, Mosmo's fur is bright tanned, sometimes silver. Her wings have textured patterns on them, some sections laced with colors, reds and yellows and oranges. Mosmo regains her footing. "That was not nice of you," she complains. Jin looks at Mosmo. "Then you know what I was doing." Mosmo huffs. Of course I do. I've been watching the two of you out monster hunting all day. Odette shows the blade she has strapped to her leg at this point. You killed Regi and Ray. She starts to draw the edge. You are the shadow monster that I saw hiding in the tree. Her eyes turn cold and hard. Now, is there any reason we shouldn't dismantle you? Mosmo is unintimidated. If you kill me, you can't learn from me. Jin holds Odette back. Wait. She isn't afraid of getting hurt. He goes on. Every animal has an instinct for self-preservation. If she isn't frightened, that means she doesn't view us as a threat. Mosmo looks over her shoulder. Have you two ever been to the AMW station? I was just there. They have fantastic ice cream. It isn't like the ice cream they have at the mochi shop. It is soft and bubbly. Jin inquires. Mosmo, what are you? Mosmo leans forward. Her eyes turn intense. Her voice goes deep and soft. I am your best chance at surviving. There's a war coming to this town. Butterflies, sanguine, men, and everything in between. This all has happened before, and it will happen again. Jin leans in, interested. What? If they win, we die. If I win, we play again next century. Last time, it was Nobunaga that was the champion of humanity. This time, it will be one of you. There's a short pause. Then Mosmo's voice goes high and happy. Anyway, I want more ice cream. Mosmo stands up and runs off, holding her arms out like an airplane. Jin scoots in to whisper with Odette. Do you believe her? Odette holds out her arms in a shrug. I don't know. Her head shakes. Have you looked around lately? Do you see how weird things are? She points up the street. We have a wrecked ocean liner in the front yard of the temple. We have no phones. The school is shut down. Everything is wrong right now. Jin takes a deep breath and shuts his eyes. He brings up a hand and bites onto one of his fingers. He whispers with himself. Take a slow look around. Think. Calculate the odds. He opens his eyes. We have nothing to lose by pressing for more information. Assume that what she told us is incomplete. But in every lie, there is something true. She is a monster, but maybe a useful one. Odette cuts off Jin. Come on, Jin. We're going with her. May 15th, 12:20 p.m. Mosmo holds up a cardboard cup caddy with 3 cups of ice cream in it. They only had one flavor left, but it's a good one. It is cola flavored. Jin looks to the shop Mosmo has just stepped out of. I don't think I've ever been in there. Mosmo looks up at the sign. What do you think ANW stands for? Odette shrugs. Could be someone's name. Jin adds on, or 2 people's names. Allen and Wright, Albert and Wrigley. Odette comments. Regi, I bet, would have known. Mosmo adds, they were a Western-style barbecue. They had one of these in England when I was there also. The food at that one tastes bitter. She takes a long drink of her shake. Jin focuses. Mosmo, what are you? Mosmo looks up at Jin through her half-shut eyes. You already know. I told you everything I can remember. Come on, put it together. Jin's eyes dart open as he thinks. He goes back, thinking about everything. Every conversation he had with Mosmo. What it all means. There are things in the world, strange things, old things, things that we can't hope to understand. Boy, because you have done this, for you, I shall give you a gift. The blood of the mosquito mixed with the blood of the butterflies. At last, Jin remarks, She, Queen of the Butterflies. Odette looks between the two of them. I don't remember that story. Someone catch me up. Jin jumps to a conclusion. Aliens. Aliens didn't invade us. They were here before us. The mill was erected on top of the nest of the butterflies. Tomono no Miya, Okami, Mr. Redblue. These are all stories about times that people had encountered she and her children. Masmo looks bashful. That may be overstating the facts somewhat. Masmo turns to look out into the woods. Do you know where the old village is? Odette looks upstream. Give or take. Nakeba is there right now. Masmo starts. Jin cuts in. How do the illusions you cast work? The olfactory gland can be used to hijack the other senses, Masmo offers. Jin presses for more information. What about cameras? Can they bypass that? Smell-o-vision does not exist yet, Masmo jokes. Can you fool both my sight and vision at the same time? Jin becomes aggressive in his questioning. Masmo flips her invisible wings, and the next time Jin and Odette blink, the three of them are standing outside the temple. The church is cleaner and better dressed than it has been in the last few days as they are setting up for the festival. Jin and Odette both gasp in confusion, throw in their drinks as the change disorients them. Masmo demonstrates superhuman speed and balance and foresight by catching the two shakes in one hand and takes hers in the other. She explains. You'd be shocked by the things I can do. She smiles. Evidence is not evident when truth is not true and facts not factual. She hands them back their drinks. Time can be warped, space folded, the mind distorted. May 15th, 7:10 p.m. Sakura Tomoji is happy to share what she knows about the Sanguine with Oso and Riko, once Riji's sword has been repaired. She tells them about how she was attacked. She tells them about how the beast tried to invade people's minds. But most important of all, she tells them that the monsters can die, and that she has some idea as to where they go to hide during the day. As they walk through the trees, the sun is setting quickly. Oso comments, This looks like some place I have been before. Riko explains, That's because you have been here. This is Kakiri's stretch. Oso nods, Oh yeah, that's right. Sakura interjects, Is there anything that you would like to confess, Oso-san? Oso explains, This is revelation to no one. After my wife passed, I grew deathly sick as well. I came out here and called out to the kami to heal me, no matter what that means. The kami answered my calls. They put a rope in my hand and told me to climb the hanging tree. They would heal me if I demonstrated my love for them by leaping to my death. I jumped, and the rope snapped from around my neck. I fell into Riko's arms as he walked through the forest. Oso looks to Riko. By the way, what had brought you this deep into Shika anyway? I was out with Ahuru. Jed is brief with his reply. Eyes in the trees watch them. One of many forest beasts has spotted the hunters. Kimi, the yellow-eyed devil. Kimi has seen these three before. But in the case of two of them, it has not been for over a decade. He had bit Oso the last time he was in the forest, and he has free rein to read his thoughts, and even offer him suggestions. Kimi is older than some of the forest spirits, but not the most powerful. That honor belongs to Shiryo Kimono, also called Tomono no Miya, daughter of Shiro Okami. Kimi flaps his wings. He fills the air with an intoxicating scent. Kimi reaches into Oso's mind, seeing if he still has the power to control him after all these years. Oso smells the thoughts of the fly in the tree. His back straightens out. He stands tall. His eyes haze over. Jet calls out to Oso, "Hey, what's going on? Do you see something?" Oso turns to look at his followers. Oso reaches across his body, grabbing his blade. He swiftly draws his sword. He is coming in at Jet with the traditional 3-strike kill. A slash on the scabbard across the eyes. Flip the blade to come down across the nose. Jet does not let this happen. He backsteps, taking a cut to the arm. And as Oso comes in for the second hit of the combo, Jet attacks the attacker. He uses his good arm to grab Oso around the wrist and hold him still. The old scar on Oso's neck becomes visible once more. A long red mark running down the throat and behind the collarbone. The old injury burns, reinvigorated, as if a freshly pulsating blister, filling with dead blood. With much anguish, Rico outstretches his bleeding arm and grabs Hanzo's other hand. The massive man starts to walk Oso backwards. Sakura's eyes turn upwards. She spots the bug in the tree. She uncases her wings and leaps into the branches with heroic agility. Sakura shows Kimi her sword and speaks to him. "You're doing this. How?" she commands. Kimi looks up, losing his concentration. "Are you a moth?" Sakura is consumed by a need to hunt, a need to kill. In a brief moment of all-consuming passion, she draws the sword and strikes the monster. A slash across the wings. The beast falls from the tree. Black snake-like tendrils spray from its back, searching for its broken bits. Sakura leaps down from the tree, landing on the beast's chest with a sword plant. The blade breaks through the fly's body and darts out its back, spiking the thing to the ground. Sakura kneels atop it. With a hiss, Sakura chokes down her bloodlust. This monster could be helpful. Oso shakes his head, his vision becoming clear as the beast loses its grip on his mind. Jet fails to take notice as he takes action to disarm Oso. Jet cat steps to one side and pulls Oso's arm, drawing the samurai across his body and into a knee strike. Oso collapses. Sakura orders, "How does the mind control you have work?" The beast buzzes and shakes his body side to side, struggling. Sakura mans it with the back of her hand. "I asked you a question, bug." The monster grabs at her, trying to force its way out from under her. Sakura's having none of it. She leans forward, straddling the beast, and takes its throat in her forearms, throttling its breath. "Start talking." "I can't talk if I'm dead," it gasped. "Then this does hurt." Sakura loosens her grip. "I have power, and I plan to see to live the end of all of this. Now, talk. What are you? How do we kill you? What sort of power do you have over us?" Kimi explains. "You are one of us. The one that birthed you surely told you these things." Sakura speaks out. "What do you mean, birthed?" "You are awakened, are you not? Your blood is ours. If not, you couldn't transform." Oso sits up. "Awakened? You mean to say not everyone can become what you are?" Jet pulls out his hammer and stands over Sakura, waiting. He can see what is going on, and he doesn't like it. Sakura explains, "My mother suffered an unfortunate fate. She told me nothing of this." Kimi elaborates, "There are dozens or more subspecies of us. We are each unique, but still one can see the resemblance between us, like dogs of a breed. You, a moth. You can mind control humans just like I do, maybe better. Flap your wings, fill the air with skin dust. Lose that breath, your dust. You can see them think." He continues, "Sting them with your tooth on your tongue, and you can send them dreams." Also ask, "And how can one resist this?" Kimi explains, "One can't. Once one is in your mind is theirs. But only one mind can hoard many. Two Singwins cannot share one human." "Then if I share my blood with these two, you lose your power over them?" Sakura asks. "No. So long as I live, I control all things that I sting." "So long as you live." Sakura sees the loophole. She exploits it. Sakura thrusts herself down on the monster and takes his throat in her fangs. She crushes him, suffocating him in her jaws. Jet holds his hammer overhead. "Tell me you are still you, or I am going to..." Once Kimi stops struggling, Sakura tips her head up. "I am me. No one controls my thoughts. Maybe my mother somehow gave me immunity to them." The sky crackles. A stiff wind picks up. More rain. Every night it seems rain. Have things always been like this? Or has the awakening of the forest spirits somehow angered the world, allowing for these nightly storms? Sakura can do nothing to hide her monstrous nature. Rain pours down her body. Her clothes turn translucent. The monsoon washes away the blood from her face. Her eyes are wide and fearful. "I am one of them," she whispers. "I always have been." Riko Jet grips his hammer tightly. He watches Sakura, seemingly having forgotten the deep cut in his arm. He grunts in contemplation. The voice is right. Her expression is understandable. Maybe she's telling the truth. Or perhaps Sakura Tomoji is an exceptional actress. Oso takes off his backpack. He looks to Riko. "Give me your arm." Oso pulls out of his bag a sewing kit and a bottle of rum. "This is going to hurt a lot." Oso cleans the needle, then stitches up Riko's slash. Riko points out, "That wasn't the only one of them. Where are they, Sakura?" Sakura crawls off the monster. She points that way. There's a fissure in the ground that leads into an underground waterway. I can smell them. Oso looks up at Riko. "Are you good?" "It's only an arm. I have another," Riko proclaims. May 15th, 10:24 p.m. Jin and Odette are walking hand in hand. Jin has his flashlight held up before him. He spins around, suddenly aware of his surroundings. Jin jumps about to face Odette. She seems to be just awakening from having been sleepwalking. "Odette, where are we?" Odette pulls her flashlight and looks side to side. "I don't know. I've never seen this part of town." The houses are old, burned, crumbling under their own weight, half covered in snow. Masmo skips down the street. She spins her umbrella around, playing with it. "Welcome to the old town." Jen barks. How did you get here? What did you do? Mosmo stops spinning and looks up at the clouds. Which do you want me to answer first? Odette speaks up. Are you controlling us? Mosmo explains. You two can't be controlled. Your families have developed resistance to us over the years. I can send you thoughts, but I can't take full control of your bodies. Resistance? Jin asked. The more times someone in your bloodline is bitten, the larger of a dose it takes to alter your brain chemistry, and if at some point you were one of us, maybe it would be easier to have Nakoba explain that part. Odette cuts in. Nakoba? Mosmo points to a cave. He is in the sinking chapel. Been there since he recovered. Mosmo takes the two of them into the underground, through the Museum of Lost Things, and to a small room packed tight with scrolls and books dating back hundreds of years. Nakoba slumped over a table, a pen in one hand, a blank parchment off to one side, and two others set before him. And to his other side, he is translating. Odette calls out, Nakoba-san! Nakoba looks up. Sue? Nakoba stands up. He looks at the kids. Odette rushes over to offer Nakoba a hug. Jin whispers with Mosmo. I want to say, I'm not thrilled by this. Mosmo whispers back. Do you think I'm trying to hurt you still? I've been helping you since the beginning. Odette questions, Nakoba, what is all of this? Nakoba looks down at the scrolls. The lost articles of Ojo Yoshi. It turns out that reading 900-year-old books is not easy, even if written in a language you speak. The uses of words change a good deal over the ages. Odette looks to the books. Ojo Yoshi? Path to Salvation. I have seen copies of it in the library. Nakoba picks up his pen and sits back down. You've seen copies of copies. But looking at older versions, you can see some essential things that change between them. The word brother, for example, on this page, is spelled differently on this page. That is not a mistake. Brother has two meanings. He points between two spellings. This character means of flesh, and this one of arms. But in later printings, they only ever use the character for of arms. He moves on to another page. Now here, this word means birth, but so does this one. Odette leans in, looking at the page. I don't know this character. That is because it no longer appears in common vernacular. The closest word we have to this word is manufacture, or erect. Onan himself was having trouble translating this because he didn't know why the original penner of the scroll was using this spelling and not the more common one. Odette asked for clarification. Who is Honen? 12th century. He was an artist and a scholar. He helped build the modern Buddhist church, Nakoba expresses. Modern? What do you mean by modern? Jin asks for clarification as he approaches. Everything morphs over time. Nothing more so than things that we enshrine in our culture. One of the earliest ways to view this is through the lens of Judaism. Once a polytheistic church, like most of the ones around it. But after the fall of Judea at the hands of Iran, the survivors began adopting the ideas of their invaders. The Jews started to incorporate ideas like God's having enemies, and the promise of eternal reward in exchange for sufficient sacrifices and other holy gifts. These ideas come from the Church of Zorah, not from the Church of Judah. The same thing, of course, happened to us. Look around our church. See if you can spot anything that looks like it may have been brought in from somewhere else. Everything changes. So, by the time Honan lived, new ideas had been brought in. The old ones had been forgotten. Looking at early writing can give us a good clue as to how things evolve. Jin asked, "Do you know about the monster in the forest? About Mazumo?" Nekba looks to she the butterfly. "I do now. And it looks as if Ichishin Megami has known for some time." He looks down at his books. I found passages in one of these most revealing. A conversation between Siddhartha and a kami whose name I can't seem to figure out how to pronounce. The kami had told Siddhartha that which is to emerge from the flesh is more than that which is emerged from lust alone. No elder that is from the sky would allow being born that which is not with, and I think that word's supposed to mean purpose. Jin thinks aloud. I think this needs more context. Nekaba nods. I admire a man that searches for understanding so heroically. Buddha was trying to understand something. He wanted to know what use gods have for men. In light of all things I have seen of late, I think I have an idea of that of my own. Directed panspermia. Life was created intentionally, or at least it was guided. Odette looks around. Okay. I will say it. What? Nekaba leans back on his chair. We are not alone in the universe. There are things out there that could be described as gods, metaphysically speaking. Mazumo's people lost their world to some sort of an accident, and somehow she and a few dozen others, it would seem, escaped. They immigrated here. But we are not them. If they want to live, they need to find a way to refresh the gene pool. They've been experimenting with us for generations, trying to fuse us into one animal. Jin cuts in. So you are saying that the atmosphere is right? The level of gases and whatnot are not a problem? The bacteria and the fungus are not deadly? And we somehow look alike in spite of being independent creations? And the only problem comes down to sex? Mazumo speaks up. I wouldn't say funguses weren't a problem. But to the bacteria on this planet, we are alien. Our biology just isn't close enough to yours for Earth parasites to latch onto. Nekaba adds, if I am reading this right, Mazumo's people have been working for generations to make us more like them or them more like us. Mazumo elaborates, amazingly, in the last few decades, your medical technology has exceeded anything we ever had. In fact, so has your information technology and understanding of physics. Your locomotion still needs some work, but given the limited parts you are starting with, I can understand. Odette turns to look at Mazumo. Started? Mazumo nods. You are the first sapient animal on this planet as far as I can tell. On our world, we evolved as the 9th sapient race. We constructed most of our machinery around the hollowed-out shells of the races that came before us. So once we learned how to talk, we started evolving real fast.